Hello and welcome back to Heroes Bands FPL. Getting ready to go again for another week. Exciting times, bit of a weird game week this one. So we've got lots to talk about. So yeah, follow us at Bands Beers FPL at Bands Beers FPL all one word on Twitter.
Yeah, keep following there and like and subscribe to the YouTube. Followers are going up every week, which is a good sign. So keep doing that, please.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So we want. So start off band this week.
And yeah, for some reason I was going straight into my team there because it was that bad this week. It's a lot to talk about. Right, okay. Band this week, pretty heavy. One of my favourite bands ever, and it's relevant just now because they've got a new album coming out tomorrow. So a matter of hours until the new album of Kingdom and Crown comes out. Machine Head from Oakland, California, one of the OGs of not the thrash scene, but just the kind of 90s metal scene. I've adored them since like the early 2000s, going through their kind of rap metal stage to back to the thrashier stuff, to the epic big 7, 8, 9, 10-minute songs of the Blackening album. So yeah, Machine Head, I wanted to just focus on them today because their album's coming out tomorrow and they've had a bit of a rocky time. Some of the albums over the last wee while have not had the greatest of critics reviews, but this one's been getting sort of like 8, 9, 10 out of 10 reviews. And this tune right here that I've kind of highlighted, Unhallowed, an absolute belter, not as heavy as a lot of the older stuff, which kind of appeals to maybe some more people. And also for us in the UK, they are doing a big, huge UK tour starting off pretty soon with the kind of Viking metal band Amon Amarth. That's not coming to Scotland though, it's in London and the likes down in England. But in Scotland, they're doing a few small shows. They normally play like the Hydro and the Academy up here, but they're doing the Garage in Glasgow and Liquid Rooms in Edinburgh. They're also touching Dundee and Aberdeen. I want to see Inverness as well, just before this big UK tour with Amon Amarth kicks off. So if you're into that kind of music, get out and see them. I think there's tickets still left. Awesome show, and especially if you're in Scotland, if you can get to one of these small shows, like it's a one of a kind. You don't get to see one of these big bands in these kind of small, sweaty venues at all anymore. And what they're doing is something called Electric Happy Hour, which is basically over the pandemic. Bassist and the singer got together just in a wee room and played with a drum track and played loads of covers, loads of rare tracks, and that's what this little small tour is titled. So kind of expecting some rare stuff for all the mega fans like myself. So yeah, Machine Head in California, that is my band of the week, my band of every week, pretty much. So
glad to see the wee Love Heart next to Davidian as well. Absolute tune.
Oh, of course, man, an
big fan.
Monster of a song, yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, I mean that Amon Amarth, I didn't realise it was supporting them for their bigger tour. Sounds good, man. I'd be all over that.
It's a co-headline tour as well, so it'll be big for both of them. Big, massive set. Exciting.
Awesome. What about beer this week?
Beer. Stop sharing.
I'll let you start.
So I got something a bit different this time I've never had before. I know recently we've been drinking just sours and IPAs and stuff, typically hazy IPAs, but I spotted this in Morrison's. La Good Ale. So it sounds like it's saying this is a good ale, but Good Ale is the brewery from France, and it's a 7.2 amber ale, I believe. Is it amber? Or blonde beer? Sorry, my notes are pretty rubbish. But I seen it was 7.2% and it was only like £1.50 and it was quite a funky bottle. So I thought this is something that I wanted to try for our video. And the verdict is good. It kind of tastes a little bit like Lefty, but not as bitter. So, La Good Ale is a good beer. Excellent. Yes.
Sounds good to me. So I'm going to go for the old classic. I know I joked about it last week, but I'm definitely going to go this week. So, Big Juicy, otherwise known as Tenants. For me, arguably the best sort of, those homemade lagers that you get across the UK. Definitely better than like Carlin and all that kind of stuff. Tenants is just the classic, perfect for. The reason for this is I was judging the Scottish Beer Awards recently, and I was drinking a lot of really big sour, premium pilsners and stuff. So I thought I'll go classic tonight and just keep it real. So yeah, definitely recommend it. Made in the East End of Glasgow, still one of the best, I think. Original.
Well, it's like Marmite, isn't it, man? You either love it or you hate it. Like I do like it, especially like a pint of it. I don't know if I'm as keen in cans, I used to like when you got glass bottles of
The
it.
cans are good, man.
I know it's like a festival thing as well. I don't mind drinking it at like a festival, something cheap and easy. So, Tenants, man, we're definitely going on with a total Scottish trend here. It's always Scottish breweries and some Scottish bands.
We'll definitely get. I've got a big fan of Northern Monk and stuff, so we'll definitely be getting onto them at some point. Cool. Let's go dive into team because it's a bit of a weird week with some really weird results. And I think we've got points to match. You did quite well again. I did not so well again, beginning to doubt my credentials on this, but
we got your team up first there, just incidentally. So
yeah, so I'll just go for it quickly then, just as we're doing it. Yeah, a bit disappointing. I really had high hopes for that Liverpool Man United game. Obviously, the script was not written that way. And yeah, I'm glad Salah got that goal. Otherwise, it could have been a really bad week for me. I just sat and watched. Going big at the back with the 5, I thought there's got to be some, clean sheets in this, and went 5 at the back, and literally, I think I got 5 points in total. Not even 5. I got 4 points. It's just thank God for Sanchez, and that Brighton keeper keeping it real, man. I think that's probably the best signing I've made this season. Actually, he's been returning like nobody's business. So. Disappointed in the midfield again. We've been talking a little bit about Mount just before we kicked off the video, but he's not justifying my support of him. I really want to get rid of him this week. I know for a fact when I do, he'll probably bang against Leicester, but I'm just tired of waiting for something to happen. So I think I'm looking in that midfield area for my changes. He has good sort of fixtures coming up, but Chelsea just do not look exciting at the minute. I don't really know what's going on with them. I'm not excited by this Gordon signing. I think he's a great player, but I don't understand it. I'm worried about Liverpool. I would get rid of Trent and just swap him straight for Cancelo. Has he dropped to 7.4 already?
I don't think so yet. No. Still 7.5. Yeah, maybe tonight.
That's okay then. So I could switch him across. So that was the other. So I've got 2 free transfers. That was the other one I was looking at. Absolutely delighted with Jesus. He's just continuing to bang in the goals as I knew he would. Haaland still looking great, like looking sharp. As long as he's playing, I'm more than happy with him. Absolutely distraught about that bench. I pick Nico Williams because I think he's got to be the best option, and it was looking good up until the 91st minute or whatever it was that Everton equalised. Bailey getting a return, obviously who'd have thunk it. Fulham still playing really well, which I did predict actually. I did say to you before the game that I thought I fancied Brentford to maybe lose that game. I don't know why I hadn't thought about that beforehand, but yeah, it was an interesting week. So I still think Brentford are great. I still think they're worth keeping a hold of. But I'm liking to look at this Fulham team more and more. They seem to be quite stalwart in terms of getting results, playing well at home. Yeah. So.
Yeah, man, the bench is ugly reading, but you're not alone. Like most players, people had at least probably 10, 12 points in the bench. Some really horrendous with like 20 plus points in the bench. So it's just one of those weeks, but like you're just below average. Like it was a really bad week for pretty much the whole game. The odd player had like some people jumped on Rodrigo early, which was good for them. Some people had Odegaard as well, De Bruyne instead of Haaland and stuff. So there was points to be had out there, but yeah, it's not anything for us to be too down about. My team very similar. I think we've got quite a lot of the same problem players, but yeah, 49 points. Clean sheet with Ramsdale, no bonus points. I was really swithering between Patterson and Andres Pereira. I went for Patterson just somehow thinking that he might have been able to get a return at home against Forest, even though I knew Forest looked great the week before against West Ham, so I wasn't surprised when they scored first. So yeah, same sort of week. The Martinelli over Saka thing still working. Happy with him. I was glad to get a return from Pascal Gross because whenever they went 1-0 up and it was McAllister taking the penalty and not Gross, I was like, that the FPL app was lied to us. Like we sort of thought it was Mopey was first in line and then Gross second, but obviously McAllister's been banging him in training maybe. So fair enough. Kind of happy enough with some of it. Defence shocking. Everyone's defence was shocking this week, so can't beat myself up too much about it. And then moves wise, I'm the same. Like the only one I'm kind of wanting to punt is Mount, but I'm edging towards just rolling this week and just keeping him for another week and see how he gets on, and then go into the midweek fixtures with 2 free transfers. Trippier on the bench, 6 points, annoying, but I think most people that owned him benched him this week because he was playing Man City. Put some money on him to score at any time just in case. He did, so the 6 points on the bench didn't matter when I got some money in the bank. So yeah, not a terrible week, but could have been better, could have been worse as well. So fair play. 118 points. How did someone get that? Oh, bench boost as well. Bernardo Silva, Perisic. Excellent. Call that jammy management. So yeah, we move on.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I think like though you're getting the red arrows this early in the season is frustrating, and I think when we were talking about it, I had hoped to stay above average for the first 4 or 5 weeks. That was really my plan, and this week really kicked me in the teeth. Especially, I don't think I've ever been as angry watching that Liverpool Man United game. I mean, fair play to Man United, played brilliant, but I was furious by how bad Liverpool were. They just did not look good at all. Trent looks like is shocking at the minute. Like I cannot believe how bad he's been for the past couple of weeks. He just looks like a different player altogether. So I'm a bit nervous about Liverpool. There is a thought in my head maybe switching Salah to KDB after next week, because I think they'll probably do okay against Bournemouth. But it's just weird times. Like it's how do you navigate such choppy waters? You know, like I think last season, even with the COVID call-offs and stuff like that, I felt much more certain about the players that I could bring in. I even had like set and forgets and stuff like that. The only set and forget I seem to have, well, 2 this season is Sanchez and Jesus, and that's it. Everybody else seems to be not doing the business. I mean, Cancelo probably, if I could get him in a team, would be the other one, because he seems to be doing consistent returns. Even in that game, which was a great game to watch, and Newcastle were brilliant. I think that's a one-off. I don't think Cancelo's going to be consistently a problem with that. So so we'll talk a little bit about transfer plans. I know we already spoke briefly about it. For me, I really think that I would like to take out Mount. I've got a strong feeling about that. So I was kind of looking at replacements for Mount, and options realistically being if this is without fixtures, by the way, so this is me just spitballing who I would pick going on form. So Zaha, obviously, Gundogan, Trossard, Rodrigo, and then a bit of a kind of thrown in sideways, St. Max. I really like him. I really think Newcastle are playing well. I was worried about that Liverpool fixture, but after watching how Liverpool are playing, I'm possibly not as worried about it. Wolves are looking at a slightly better team, but they're still toothless. So I think, he could be an option. Downgrade that, say take some money off Mount, means I can start sticking that somewhere else. But yeah, it's a tough one. But that's my main transfer. The other one I was looking at is Trent. I was so tempted to just punt him because he looks so bad. I cannot get over. He just, even watching the game, he just looked like he didn't want to be there. So.
Yeah, well, 363,000 people are also agreeing with you.
I think he's one of the most transferred out this week. Yeah, so obviously with Koulibaly at the top of that list, but for obvious reasons. Surprised to see James there. I mean, like I know I'm not got massive trust in Chelsea at the minute, but I still think James is worth.
That list itself is crazy. Like the top, if you look at the top sort of 10 or 12 transferred out defenders this week, and you've got Trent, James, Cancelo, even Cash from last season, Robertson,
why isn't Zinchenko there? Like literally, why is
what has he done wrong?
That's
like
insanity. Nothing.
He didn't even blank. Like I don't get it. How many people have transferred him in? Can we see that on the screen? No.
That's crazy.
I'm confused by that, but that just shows you that I think that's very knee-jerky. Like I know what you're saying about Trent. He did look awful. The reason why James is getting transferred out is pretty obvious as well. Chelsea have been pretty rubbish, and he's playing at right centre back. I'm definitely going to give him at least another week to see what happens now. I feel like the rumours are that Cucurella is going to slide into left centre back. Obviously, there's no Koulibaly for the next game with Thiago, and then Azpilicueta as the back three, allowing James to go right wing back. Chilwell's now fit, so I think that's good for James owners. Bad for Cucurella owners, obviously. Chelsea clean sheet, still don't know. Like Leicester.
I was just going to say, you would hope that would maybe get them a wee bit more solid at the back as well.
Yeah, hope so.
Not that I don't think James is a great centre half player, but the way he played in the previous couple of games, you could see that he was almost like pivoting and still going forward, and I think that's maybe
I don't think he likes
part
it.
of the problem.
It's not his best spot. Like, so I think that Chelsea will come good and get clean sheets eventually. I don't want to jump off him yet, but I get the temptation to jump off Trent because of how much we've got invested in him, 7.5. Especially if people are going like the double Liverpool and stuff. So, but he is exceptional whenever they play well. Like, I don't know what's wrong. Like, it's just the kind of thing with Trent or transferring out Salah or making these big moves where it's the players that you know are normally great and they're not having a good time. I don't think I would touch them until it's wild card time. And for me, in my head, I'm sort of thinking game week 8. Is it 8? I think 8 is the international break. So I think that gives you 2 weeks to really tinker and think and stuff. So there's still more time to really get some information. It's only 3 weeks in. Like, Liverpool have had bad 3 weeks. Chelsea have had kind of bad 3 weeks as well. So I wouldn't jump off them all yet, but I can get why some people are maybe shifting one to try and afford someone else or whatever.
I mean, really, for me, it's just a straight swap to Cancelo. That's all I'm thinking. I think City's fixtures look a lot better than Liverpool's. Liverpool's
got
form
Diaz as well.
Great.
So you could get a double clean sheet if they like. That's 3 games that City should be getting clean sheets, really. So,
I mean, if I sit on Mount, then that's definitely an option. I think a lot of people are talking about switching away from being big at the back to moving money forward, but I still think defence is got its benefits.
look, we just went from the transfers out to transfers in, and we've got Zinchenko, James, Cancelo, Williams, Walker all in the same list. Like, blows my mind.
This is interesting because we spoke about certain players, and I think Perisic is definitely interesting to me, and I think I've got him in our kind of short list round for we're going to talk later, but might as well do it now. If we're going to have them up, we can have a quick chat about players that we might like. Perisic is definitely in my plans. Like, I like the look of him. I'm waiting to see. I don't know whether I want to jump on straight away or just wait and see how they got on this week and whether he definitely starts. But he looked probably one of the better players for Spurs, who looked really lethargic at the weekend. So it was nice to see him, getting the assist and playing quite far forward and playing quite well. The other one, which is you have already and is sitting underneath him in the list, is Trippier. Definitely looks decent as well. I'm really into this Newcastle team. I'm buying into it. If they get Isaac and he comes and plays for them, they're going to look really good. I can't see past them. I think that that fixture list looks pretty good, and I don't think Liverpool are. I mean, maybe Liverpool at home is a different proposition, but yeah, right up until not even even Man United, objectively, they're going to put a fight against them. So Spurs, before you need to do anything,
No.
I think they just look form-wise, they look like they're really, really firing. So I think Newcastle were one of the teams I would recommend targeting, just especially for players. I think if you like a Newcastle player who fits your budget and transfer plans, it's well worth getting in, because like in terms of form and fixtures, they are the players that seem to be firing, and that they looked absolutely brilliant in that City game. Our old pal Almiron, which we talked about at the start of the season, popping up with a great goal. So yeah,
definitely. I'm definitely keen on more Newcastle players. I think St. Maximin, as you touched on him, I think he has got a lot of threat. It's always his goals that you don't see him scoring many goals, but it's got to come this season. Like, Newcastle are looking good, and if they do sign Isak and then maybe play a 4-4-2 with Wilson, like that's pretty dangerous. I do want to get more of them in at some point. I'm glad I've got Trippier already. I don't need to try and fit him in, but they conceded 3 goals against City, but they also scored 3 against them, so they can give Man United and Tottenham and Liverpool all a good game. Might not keep a clean sheet, but Trippier can get on the assists or the goals. So he's definitely one that people should be going for 5.1 million. It's a bargain, man. Like, $1 million cheaper than Chelsea and Liverpool and City defenders. Brilliant, man. Keen.
And I think they'll get better in terms of defensively and stuff like that. I think Man City was just they just kind of ran out of steam a little bit. They were all kind of gung ho, and then I think City, just that way that they do, started to control the play and come back into it. So yeah, I mean, Bruno's another player like I'm obsessed with anyway. I think maybe not right now, but he's one I've been aiming for. I think a lot of the stats are showing him playing, even though he's been playing sort of further back. He's actually, during the game, playing further forward. He's been getting a lot of touches in around the box and stuff like that. So, yeah, he's another one I really like the look of.
Very affordable as well, less than 6 million. His price has dropped, so
I think Newcastle team to target. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
so that brings us on just quickly before we go back to transfer targets in a bit. Captain choices. I was kind of intrigued to know what you're thinking this week.
It's easy. Salah. I just can't see past him, man. Like again,
Yeah.
I don't care how bad Liverpool were against Man United. I feel like a kind of under par Liverpool came up against an overperforming, not even overperforming Man United team. That Man United team should be giving the best teams in the league a good game on paper. Man United they wanted it more. They had to win that game, really. Like, they had such a bad start and they were getting slated. And then Ten Hag made the excellent decisions of dropping Maguire and Ronaldo to the bench. For this thing, Liverpool, they've got a few problems themselves, obviously, with injuries and suspensions. So I just can't see past them, man. At home to Bournemouth, I feel like Jesus being my vice captain, I would be tempted by, but it's the same sort of chat we had last week where I was captaining Salah away to Man United. I was just like, everyone's going to be captaining him. I feel like it's the safe bet. It's only game week 4. I don't want to be taking those risks. I trust him. He's on pens. Bournemouth haven't looked amazing. And defensively, especially away, they're only one game they played away was against Man City and they lost 4-0. So I'm just expecting Liverpool to bounce back. Like, they don't need Darwin Núñez to pump Bournemouth. They've got Firmino to play in the central position. So it's on Salah and it's not moving.
Yeah, and I think the fixtures kind of swaying to a lot of my decisions in terms of Liverpool. Like, I think I'd be a bit more knee-jerky if they weren't playing Bournemouth. But yeah, Salah's my captain choice as well. I think he's the top of the predicted points ladder. I don't think Bournemouth are going to score against it. Well, listen, I say that now, but I don't think Bournemouth are going to score against Liverpool, which gives you, 3 points straight from the off, providing he doesn't get yellow carded, which he tends not to do. So that's 6 points straight away. So then if he gets any returns, assists, goals, it's just a no-brainer. Yeah, Jesus, I do like the look of. Haaland, if Man City are firing, I think can get a couple of goals, but I'm always kind of wary of captaining forwards. I just think unless you really think they're going to score a hat-trick or something, it's always better to go safe with a midfielder that like you say, takes penalties, scores goals, and Salah does it better than anyone. So yeah, I think
Colin Salah,
I think we're both on par with that.
Colin Salah, midfielder, is just not the right thing anyway. Like, these players are forwards. And what I was just going to say was, like, as bad as Liverpool played the other night, Salah still popped up with the goal. He is reliable. Whenever Liverpool play terrible, he tends to push them forward and get something. So, he's reliable. Even when they're not on form, he can get us something. So, yeah, Salah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go anywhere else.
Mildly worried about this season. He seems to be further wide, especially Núñez, and that we're playing. Firmino just doesn't seem to be the player that he has been in previous seasons, which I think if I was Klopp, I would possibly be looking at saying to Salah, like, you need to get forward and more central, because for me, he just doesn't seem to be the player that's going to be of previous seasons. It's going to link up and cause those kind of deft touches and stuff. So I think if Salah and Diaz are allowed to push forward and be much more like they have been, I think they could run riot against that Bournemouth defence. So yeah, definitely for me, that's we're in agreement. So the other thing that obviously talked a lot about our transfers, you said you're probably not going to make a transfer this week. So I've got 2 transfers. So I think the one that I'm definitely going to burn is Mount to somebody. St. Maximin, he's just screaming at me. I'm really, really tempted, but I'm mildly nervous. Lost 0.1 off it because of the Mount price drop, but there's just so many players at a lower price, midfielders at a lower price point that are looking really good at the moment. Like Gundogan again seems to be back on the. I mean, I don't know how Pep Roulette will affect that, but he seems to be an interesting player again, and he really is doing what he did a couple of seasons ago. Where he was it 1 or 2, I can't remember, but he was picking up points left, right, and centre. So. I fancy him. I still fancy Trossard. We spoke about this countless times. Brighton's fixtures are great, and I think Trossard's definitely on that list. I'm wary of Rodrigo, but he keeps proving me wrong. So I just don't know what to do. But yeah, I think possibly Mount to St. Max.
I'm interested, man.
Yeah. I really like it. I just think Newcastle looks so good at the minute.
I know.
And there's a weird sort of like belief about them, which this season teams like Liverpool and Chelsea seem to be missing. So, you know, if you look at Leeds and Newcastle, both those teams just seem to believe they're going to win, and you know, they're going out of the way. And even against City, they did not look anywhere near like standing off City at all. They really went at them. So I think if they do that against other teams this season, they'll definitely be getting points. So yeah, that's my thoughts. I haven't confirmed it yet, but I mean, your other options, obviously, looking at other positions, are players like Aronson that Leeds, which you liked and were really right to pick out a while back. Perisic, we spoke about. Trippier, we spoke about. Tony, if you can get that third striker spot. We both like Brentford. We both think the form's good. We think. I know you're more keen on Tony than I am, but he's definitely another player that people should be having on their shortlist, I think.
Yeah, Tony, I'm really keen on, but it's moving about the structure a bit too much. Like with 2 free transfers, I could downgrade Mount and then upgrade Archer. But then it leads me to a wee bit of a bench headache, because then do I want to play 3 strikers? Obviously, I can't play 5 midfielders and 3 strikers and stuff. It's just I don't know. I was going to say there, like I'm interested. Like, so we're both in the same conundrum with Mount, and I must admit St Maximum's not in my top 3. I think if I was doing it this week, even though I'm going to try and not do it this week and have my 2 free transfers next week, and Mount will likely be my top transfer out unless he scores a hat-trick this weekend or something. I'm St Max, I'm just not sure about yet. I don't know. I do like him, but I just feel for the price point, I would go for one of the Leeds players. But then as Rodrigo's ownership is rising and rising and rising, so his price has put me off him a little bit. Like I'm just feeling Bamford's back around the corner. He's going to be back on penalties, so I'm really keen on Harrison or Aronson. But then my main favourite would be, you mentioned him, is Gundogan.
Yeah, definitely.
Something's on your lips there. What are you going to say?
No, I was just going to mention the Leeds thing. I was looking at the Leeds Barnsley game yesterday, and Sinisterra started and scored.
He's ready.
I think he's ready, and I just wonder. I mean, I'm not a Leeds fan, so I don't really know how that affects the bold Rodrigo, but I do believe that, you know, that's one of the things that people were maybe mildly worried about, was going forward, whether the forward options that come in are going to prevent Rodrigo from starting. So I mean, looking at form, you can't really like, you know, rule him out, but that's just my worries about Rodrigo. Like the same with Martinelli, like both players that have been pure naysaying, and both of them have been doing really well. So maybe just ignore me and keep doing what you're doing. But yeah, I think long term it's just mildly worrying. I think Sinisterra looks like a player, and he was a player at Feyenoord. So I think there's a real worry that, you know,
having a look at this this website that predicts the lineups, and I've said before they're pretty accurate. So Dan James would be the one that would go out for Sinisterra, still expecting him to start. And then obviously when Bamford's back, so he would come into this position. Rodrigo would likely be behind him, you would think, or would Rodrigo move out wide? But like, you're right. So it's basically then would be Rodrigo, Harrison, Aronson, and James and Sinisterra all fighting for 3 positions. So we're starting to get into a bit of a Man City conundrum there. There's so many good players for so little positions. So maybe
it's such a weird thing to talk about with Leeds, you know.
Maybe approaching
you weren't expecting it
with a bit of caution is right, but then I suppose Rodrigo is going to be the one that's going to get the heads up on that, and Harrison, I think they would be the first 2 names in the team sheet if you were picking out of those 5 players for those 3 positions, and the rest of them can fight for it. So maybe a bit of caution there. So there's too many good options. See, when you've got the amount of money to spend, I've got a little bit in the bank as well, so I've got like 8.4, I think. So I can afford Diaz, I can afford, I don't know who else is at 8 million, Kulusevski, Foden, all these players. Rashford's even creeping on. Like, people are talking about him a lot, and he was not on my radar, and I would still need to give it a little bit of time to see what I thought about him.
But I want to come on to that. I want to come back onto that. So keep that Man United thought in your head. But the point I want to make about Foden, it'd be really good if Foden could just learn to pass to Haaland, and then I think they would get more points for both. So I find this whole Foden thing infuriating, that he just thinks he can like honestly, the
2 weeks in a
2 or
row.
3 times we've seen, it's just terrible. Like I don't understand what he thinks he's playing at. But anyway, we'll get back on that.
Got my Orange Rangers hat on here. See last night the ball that that Lawrence played it across to. No, it was Tillman played it across to Cholak. That's what Foden should have been doing for Haaland last week and the week before.
Yeah, exactly.
It's on a plate. It's just the awareness, knowing like a goalkeeper could save this shot, even if you're the best finisher in the world, or pass it to someone who can tap it into your net with no goalkeeper. Like it's.
But it's just worrying. It's like, is he doing it on purpose? Like, what is he thinking? Because surely the first time around, everybody complained about it. He must have known. The second time it happens, it's even more obvious. It's just mental. So anyway, that brings me on perfectly to the first set of topics, which is Pep Roulette. Do we think that Haaland might be under threat going forward in terms of game time? Do we think, with the Champions League coming up and stuff, do we think that he might be managed? I know that Pep was speaking, I think, was it in a tweet or something? There was a tweet going about today talking about how he might manage players, that certain players will be benched and that Alvarez will be given game time. So what do you think? Is it a worry? Should we be looking at Kane, who's more certified?
I think it is a wee bit of a worry. Like he did come out and say like these players are going to have to play 3 times a week for the next wee while, and he's like, I will be playing Alvarez. Like obviously it doesn't specify like if he's going to favour one or the other for the Premier League or the Champions League, but I think so. But for me, it's not to worry about yet. We've still got a couple of weeks. Like Champions League will start the week after next. So it's all around that sort of when you're going to wildcard. There's going to be, as soon as he gets dropped, Haaland, from a Premier League game, he's going to get transferred out. And not by me, I mean, just like by droves of people. So then that's kind of time of maybe, I'll keep him for another week, whatever. But when you're doing your wildcard, I think I'll have serious consideration about going for Kane or not for a premium striker and going for Tony or Mitrovic or whatever. Like, so yeah, definitely. Like it's a risk. You don't want a player that's costing you that much money not playing every week. And Kane, Tony, Mitrovic, there's other players out there that are definitely going to play every single week for that price or less. So, it's a worry. I don't think he's going to stay in my team like for a long, long time. I think he might be in and out throughout the season, a bit like Ronaldo was last year. Got him straight in, kept him for a few weeks, dropped out, came back in, and eventually was gone forever. But it's a worry. But a long-term worry, not short-term. I wouldn't worry about it right now. Maybe a couple of weeks.
Cool. And then across the city to our boys in red, frustrating boys in red. What were you thinking about Man United? I mean, I'm obviously wary because I was looking at some analysis and they were saying that Man United play better against the teams that sort of they can hit on the break, and that Liverpool high line is just mental this season. They seem to be playing everybody forward, so it was obvious that players like Rashford and Sancho were going to thrive in that setting. I do like. I think if you're looking at that list, I think the 2 players that really jump out to me and have probably jumped out to me for a season, even when they were doing terrible last season, were Sancho and Rashford. And I think, do you think Man United are worth a look? I mean, I don't even know what the fixtures are, but Southampton this week's not that bad a shout. So, what do we think? And I mean, Leicester away as a red is a bit mental because Leicester are terrible as well. So. What do you think?
Yeah, that's not right. That needs to get changed. I know it's like sort of approached with caution, but also the fact they're so low owned, it's a great time to jump on them. There's goals to be had here, and like I said earlier on, Man United's team on paper are so good. Like they should be playing well against everyone, even maybe getting stuff against Man City and Liverpool and that. So I'm definitely tempted. I'm keeping an eye out. Rashford and Sancho I do very much like, especially Rashford's price. Like. Just looks awesome. The rest of the team, I wouldn't touch the defence at all just now, really. Although I really like this young lad, Tyrell Malacia. Like he was so good against Liverpool. I didn't see him getting forward enough to be like thinking he's going to get assists or goals like Shaw might have got assists or like your James and Cancelo and that. But he just looked like he had it in him. He had that heart. He was just like, I don't care what happens. I'm in for every challenge. He was going forward and playing really well, good passes and that. I thought he looked good. Maybe one for next season or the second half of the season, but he's on my radar a little bit.
Did you see one of the worries I had? about Man United is going to manifest itself next week when they obviously have the Ronaldo crown play up. But did you see the fact box that popped up during the game when they were talking about Bruno's performance last season, or the season before, sorry, and then comparing it to last season, and just how how overshadowed he is when Ronaldo plays, and how badly it's affected him. That for me is why I think like it's just better if Ronaldo moves on and allows this team to kind of push forward as their own entity, you know, because like Bruno looked way better in that game than I think I've seen him in a long time. Like he looked like he was keen to be there, he was putting in challenges, he was feisty again, you know, he was angry, he was wanting to get, you know, on the ball and stuff. So that's my only mild worry, is that if Ronaldo goes back into that team, does it destabilise again? Does it change the shape? Does, you know, he will score, like he obviously always does, and he's an amazing player, I'm not saying that, but he just destabilises the rest of the team so much that it's slightly worrying. That's the thing that does get to me.
I know they're definitely one to monitor. Let's see how the transfer window ends next week, and then we can talk about them again, because you're right. Like if Ronaldo leaves, then it's a whole new conversation and your eyes will open a bit. If he stays, then yeah, it is. You've got to be cautious. Like they really are not the same team when he was playing. So yeah, let's talk about them in a week's time. The transfer window will be shut then.
Yeah, it's that one fixture is not a season make, so I think like you know, one amazing result, you know, it wouldn't be past them to go out and struggle against Southampton, which they regularly do. Southampton tend to be one of those kind of bogey teams where they end up having those mad 3-each draws and things like that. So
they could beat them. That would be funny. 3-0 Southampton. 4-0.
I mean, yeah, that's the two I'm going to keep on. Rashford and Sancho, we'll keep an eye on them. I like the look of them, and I think they'll be on my watch list going forward. Cool. Unless you've got anything else you can think of you want to talk about drastically, I'm quite happy to finish up there.
I think the only thing I'm kind of wanted to mention is West Ham, because we spoke about yesterday. I was just like, oh, it's quite cool that Emerson Palmieri's moved to West Ham. I don't even know if he's in the game yet for West Ham, but former Chelsea defender, 4 million defender, coming in for West Ham at left back. And I seen a West Ham fan tweet about, they were like, good, this gives us a reason to get Cresswell out of the team in a few weeks. I thought Cresswell's been great through his West Ham career. He's maybe started the season pretty poorly, but the whole West Ham team has. So I'm curious to see how that works, because if they start getting form and Emerson pushes his way into the team, he's played further forward for Chelsea before as well, so he could maybe come in as a midfielder, a left-sided midfielder. For 4 million, he could be a gem. I'm just saying this very early doors, like maybe in like 6 weeks or something, we can talk about it. But West Ham assets we'll need to talk about eventually, because they're obviously massively underperforming, bottom of the league, and some great players on the team there. So
they're winning 3-0 tonight. So Skamaka scored first, Ben Rama scored, Corney getting another assist, Big Tam Sushik getting the third. So I think hopefully their form will pick up. I'm not worried about West Ham. Like I think West Ham they'll hit form eventually. Like I just think it's been a bit of a freak result.
They'll come on. They'll come into our thoughts very soon. I think over the next like 3 or 4 weeks. So
well worth. I like the Emerson shout though. It's definitely worth. Like I know you've been talking about that for a while, so definitely worth one.
They wouldn't sign him if he wasn't going to go into the team at some point. He's too good and too experienced. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. Interested.
Brilliant.
Righty.
Well, let's finish up there, man. I really enjoyed that, and hopefully catch you guys sometime. Well, next week actually. Well, we'll try and do a video before the new next game week if we can. Squeeze one in, and good luck, and hopefully
we all have a better game week this week. Yeah.
Better than me anyway. Yeah, hopefully.
Right, thanks for tuning in.
All right, speak to you soon.
Cheers. Thank you.